go. Thank you very much.
My girlfriend's in the back like I'm forced to listen to it every single week when I hear you recording it. Shout out Courtney in the back there.
Shout out Courtney going.
Thanks.
Me.
But we have a tradition every week on the extreme life of Matt Hardy. Any Ruthless Aggression fans here in the audience? Well, Matt, you trailblazed, as you typically do, a character known as Matt Hardy version 1. Yeah! And he V1. And every entrance that V1 had, he was accompanied by a Matt fact. So, I think it's appropriate that here in front of a sold-out crowd at Connolly's, please, Matt Hardy, hit us with our New York City exclusive Matt fact.
Matt fact. Matt first wrestled in Times Square at Madison Square Garden in 1998.
1998. Were you a full-time talent yet?
I was a full-time talent, yes. We signed our contract, our official contract, non-developmental, in March of 98, and then we started on the road that summer.
Was anybody at Raw this week at Madison Square Garden here? There's just something special about MSG, right? There's just something in the air, there's something in the water. You guys feel that as performers?
Dude, we were so excited. So, does anybody remember when Matt Jeff Hardy wore tights? We had the daisy tights, the plaid.
You look like a couple Young Bucks even.
Young Bucks, there's nothing sacred anymore. They'll steal everything we have. The first time we wrestled at MSG, we were wearing our tights. It was still during that era before we were with Michael Hayes and before we did the whole reinvention. And we became the kickwear Matt Jeff Hardy Team Extreme. So we were so excited that we were going to get the opportunity to come to MSG to wrestle there. We're like, man, this is the Mecca. Like, you know you've made it when you've wrestled in Madison Square Garden. So that was super cool. And we were able to do it very early on in our career. So it was an awesome deal. And what is so funny is you love MSG, you love being there. The fans are great. And back then, especially, it was the Attitude Era. Business was white hot. It was always sold out. And it was so great. There would be thousands of people outside. Like, they would mob you as you're trying to, you park across the street, you walk over, and everyone's trying to take a picture, get an autograph, whatever. And I'll never forget, we were so excited to go to MSG. And we always were to this day. It's funny. As time would go on later, like with long loops, it'd be like the last day of a 8-9 day loop, and we're in MSG, and this is like 9-10 years later. We said, man, I love MSG, but it is so tough to get into MSG and then to walk across the street and do that and this and that. But it is the most iconic arena that I can think of that anybody could wrestle in. It is truly the Mecca.
And you have one of the most special matches of your career there, which we'll get to in a second. But you're talking 1998, so you're up there, you're signed full time. And for some reason, someone comes up with this idea that they should pair the Hardy Boys with Michael P.S. Hayes of the fabulous Freebirds lore. That must have been an experience, huh?
You have no idea. We actually really enjoyed the Freebirds, and we thought they were amazing as bad guys in World Class Championship Wrestling when they were doing the stuff with the Von Erichs. And I loved it when Michael Hayes and Jimmy Garvin were teaming in NWA/WCW, just as that version of the Freebirds. I love them. I mimicked a lot of what they did for my original bad guy character, my heel character, High Voltage. And it's so funny because Vince said, I think we could utilize you, Michael, because he was wanting to get back into the wrestling business so badly. He didn't want to be Doc Hendricks, the guy who was interviewing people. That wasn't his gig. He wanted to be someone who was like teaching someone younger, and Vince gave him myself and Jeff. And I will say this, we learned more from him than any other guy ever in the business. Like, he said, I want you guys on the road with me. He said, we're going to be like the New Birds. He said, we travel together, we're in a rental car, you guys got to get it, of course. We travel together, we break bread together. He said, we get hotel rooms and we'll hill a room together. He said, and you guys exchange who takes the double bed, because I always sleep in a bed. One of you guys can sleep on the floor or cot. But that's what we do because we're a team. Got it? Got it. Good. And we did this, and Bradshaw used to say to us, after being with Michael Hayes 2 weeks, he saw that he was kind of wearing thin on us in a couple ways, and he says, When the Hardys turn on Michael Hayes, they will kill him. And he would say that almost every single day we'd go to work. And this is back when we were doing 10 and 4. We were still working quite a bit. And we went with Michael the very first time. I'll never forget when we were on the road together. I said, Michael, do you care if we stop and eat? We're hungry. And he's like, sure, that's fine. We can go somewhere. Where do you want to eat at? And we said, oh, how about Cracker Barrel? And that's a place all the younger guys love to eat at this time. This is 1999. So we stop at a Cracker Barrel. Michael Hayes is there, and then we get in, and he's like looking around real awkwardly. And I can't even do it here. I have to look this way. He's like awkwardly looking over here. He said, where's the bar in this place? I said, oh, that's one of the great things about it. Cracker Barrel, they don't have alcohol. And Jeff and I, we used to be good kids to him on Michael Hayes. We didn't drink, we didn't smoke, we didn't do anything, you know. And he said, there's no bar here. He said, damn this. He said, no more stopping at this place. There's a new rule. If we're going to stop and eat somewhere, there has to be a bar. Got it? Good. And that would be our deal. And he would go, we would all order food. He would do it it was a ritual, and he would never break from it. We would go to a restaurant, say it's Ruby Tuesdays, TGI Fridays, whatever. We go in there, we sit down, we all order food. He orders his food, he sits there, he doesn't eat, he starts drinking. He drinks until he gets a good buzz and he's feeling good, and eventually says, hey, I want a to-go box. And he would always take his food with him. He would never eat it. Every single time. He would sit there and just drink, take his food to go, and then he would go around and like ask people, go, hey, you got a cigarette? You got a cigarette?
I don't.
You got a cigarette? And he would like bum a cigarette off someone but that was his thing. He would do it every single time. And I remember I came in and told JBL, I said, dude, we were out with Michael, and he stayed at this place drinking till 2. We're exhausted. We didn't sleep. When we turn on Michael Hayes, we will kill him.
Now, he was very big, you just said it, he's very big on an inclusive team. He wants you guys all to travel together, eat together. He even wanted to dress like one another. And rumor and innuendo suggests that he had a very unique idea for attire.
Well, once we were together, the Emperor, Vince McMahon, he said, okay, look, we want you guys to wear matching, we want you guys to change your looks. We want you to wear something different. Let's figure it out. Get together, talk about it, brainstorm, figure out what you're going to do. And we got with Michael, and he said, so I'm thinking like, I'm a Freebird, and I'm the most famous person here, so we should probably dress like the Freebirds. Maybe we can, rock some flannels, get some jeans and some cowboy boots and some, belt with a big belt buckle. Look pretty cool, right? And Jeff says, I mean, it's okay, but like maybe we should try to like make it a little more 90s, maybe make it kind of cool. And he said, okay, well, what you thinking? And we go to a mall. And a lot of people think it was Hot Topic, but it was Gadzooks. Does anybody remember this store?
Gadzooks. There's like 2 people. It's like
yeah, right. And we went to Gadzooks and we saw these kickwear pants, and they had these shirts that were tight. And I remember we liked the pants. We thought they were loose. We could wear our knee pads underneath them, or wear and protection for your knees. And then the guy said, what's really trendy with these things are these tight shirts. It's like it's kind of like the in fashion. People really dig it right now. And we said, okay, we'll give it a shot. And we tried on, we put on the kickwear pants, which is what the Hardy Boys initially debuted to whenever we came out and we were wearing that in the ring. And then Michael said, you know what? Y'all look good. Y'all look good. He said, y'all got my size? And then he went back and he put his on, and
he's wearing it up to his nipples.
No, but what's so funny is and it's funny because I have to make fun of myself because I'm old. I'm halfway to 100. I'm just trying to stay out the box. Michael came out and he did it. He went. He got this kickwear pants, but I'll never forget. And these are actually new kickwear pants that they just sent us. Rocking some green, man. And Michael's pants were up to here. They were like. And he said, "Hello, guys. Hello, guys. I look good." We said, "You look great." But he was committed. You know what I mean?
Well, he wanted to take it a step further.
Yeah, no, he did. There was even more ideas. He said, so I think this is great that we have this outfit, we have these new kickwear pants, we have this new shirt. He said, but now we need to go a little bit further. And this is after we'd been at a restaurant, and he'd been drinking for about 3 hours. And he got his food to go, and then he said, hey, give me a cigarette, give me a cigarette, give me a cigarette. Okay, get away from me. They give him a cigarette. And he said, all right, so what we need to do is get us some special robes. And you know how you guys came up with something, you're wearing something nobody's ever seen before, it's brand new, nobody's ever seen it? I've got an idea about a robe that nobody has ever seen. And he reels us in, right? And we're like listening. We're like, oh my God, what is it, Michael? What do you think? He said, we need to get us some robes. And he holds up, we're in a restaurant, and he holds up silverware, which is actually silver. And he says, forks, knives, and spoons. And he's just like, is holding up a fork, a knife, and a spoon. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, there's like chain. And they're all together, and the whole robe is fork, knives, and spoons. I said, what? He said, no. I mean, there's like 300 of them. 300 forks, knives, and spoons. Forks, knives, and spoons. Forks, knives, and spoons. Can you imagine that robe? It would be epic. And I was like, it'd probably be a little heavy, too. You think they would get... You think we're going to be able to get through security with that, okay? And he kind of backed off on that idea a little bit, but it's so funny because I said, Bruce Pritchard would ask us, he'd say, so I know Michael, you guys were with him the last few days. How was he on the road? I said, let me tell you this story he told us about forks, knives, and spoons. And Bruce Pritchard made that story iconic, and has told it so many times over and over. And Michael's like, well, I mean, in theory, it could have been a really good idea. Might have been a little unrealistic, but hey, you got to give me credit for thinking out of the box.
Did you ever hear Michael Hayes say doot, doot, doot?
Yeah, I have heard that. I've heard that roughly. It sounds a little different. They try and dumb it up a little bit, which, maybe deservingly so.
So you brought up JBL, Bradshaw, one half of the APA, the Acolytes. All right, a little Bradshaw love in here in Times Square. Now, Bradshaw's one of your favorites today. You love Bradshaw. But back in the day, he ran the locker room a little bit, or at least tried to run the locker room. And the Hardy Boys, for anyone who remembers, won their first tag team titles off of the Acolytes, off of the APA. And it might have set you up for a collision course with John Bradshaw Layfield in Wrestler's Court. Does anyone know what Wrestler's Court was? For those who don't know, Matt, can you explain what Wrestler's Court was?
Wrestler's Court was a bunch of horse shit. No, Wrestler's Court was something they would use as a means of teaching younger talents lessons. They would use it as a means of a fun way to kind of have the locker room do things together and try and have a good time and be entertaining, but also kind of like teach people like, you probably shouldn't have done this. That was kind of like the mindset behind it. Although sometimes it would be kind of mean-spirited, no doubt about it. So we won the tag team titles in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And once again, on this loop that we were doing, it was a 10-day zone. We were working 10 days straight, 4 days off. So we had won the tag team titles on a Tuesday, and it was SmackDown that was going to air a few days later, right? It was Raw that was going to air the week later.
They taped the two.
It was the Raw episode. It was going to be on the following week. So we did that on that Tuesday. We had won the titles. And the very next day, we were flying up here, actually, and we were coming up to Poughkeepsie to work. So we were leaving Raleigh, and I think we were flying to Newark. And it was a Delta flight. I do remember that. And Michael was our manager, and he said, I got to tell you guys, we pull up to the airport in Raleigh very early to make our flight, whatever. We'd hung out with our friends and went out to eat and had a little bit of celebration the night before. And then we got to the airport, and Michael said, I'm so proud of you guys. You guys did great. You killed it. He said, I want you guys to know I got you a present. I upgraded both of you. First class seats. He said, because I'm a million-mile Delta guy. He said, so I upgraded you both. I was like, bro, we don't want that. Because when you're a rookie and if you end up sitting in first class and there's a vet that is sitting in the back, it is not a good thing. He said, nope, everybody's all checked in, everything's done. There were 2 seats left and it's all good. He said, don't sweat it, it's all good. Just take the first class seats. He said, you deserve it. The guys love you. They'll appreciate you. And we go, Michael, this sounds like a terrible idea. A terrible idea. And then we go up, we check in, we go on last, and we're like, okay, well, nobody else has got in there. And we give them our tickets, we come in, and I'm sitting on the inside of Ron Simmons. I'm by the window, Ron Simmons is beside me. Damn. And I think Jeff is sitting beside maybe Bob Holly, and Jeff's by the window, Bob Holly's in the aisle. And JBL's up there. He said, well, look, he said, it's the new tag team champions, the Hardy Boys. They already got first class tickets. Look at that. But, everybody had been on the plane. It had been good thus far. He said, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ready to close the door. We're going to, back away from the gate. We're going to take off. We should be departing on time. They said, oh, sorry, we've just learned we have one more person that has to board the plane. Sorry, we're gonna reopen the door again real quick. And they open the door, and then all of a sudden, a guy named Glenn Jacobs,
That's gotta be Kane! That's gotta be Kane!
who performed as Kane, the Undertaker's brother, comes running through the door, and he's all frantic. He's like, oh my God, there was this big problem, and there was a big crash where I was, and I couldn't get here. I got to the airport, and they go, hey, Glenn, where are you going? Bradshaw says, where are you going? He said, you're in first class. You have a first class seat, right? He says, well, I did, but someone took it. And me and Jeff and I were trying to get up out of our seat.
You're like, come on, let's go.
And Ron's a huge monster of a man. And man, we get to the show that day, and you could already see the ring up. So, well, hell, we got to tell you, here today in Poughkeepsie, we will be holding a wrestler's contempt of court for stealing Glenn Jacobs' first class ticket. Everyone meet at 5:45 p.m. And we do this. We come up there. We're just sitting down. We're not sure how this process is going. This is one of our earlier court cases.
Suggesting there's more, by the way.
There is more. So we get up there, and I'll never forget as we're sitting there, Bradshaw starts going back and forth. He says, ladies and gentlemen of the courtroom. And he starts marching.
He's the prosecutor?
Yes, he is the prosecutor. So he's sitting there. He says, ladies and gentlemen, I must tell each and every one of you, could you imagine